Probst. Welcome to the Higher Points, and today Nick and I are coming at you with it to the point. We were going to have Eli on and talk about his powerlifting experience, but we had a little foobar with our scheduling last week, and that didn't happen, and then we tried to schedule Eli too late this week, so...
He had to go get his hair and nails did.
Yep, it happens to the best of us. I heard he's getting his beard done too, right?
Yeah. Oh, man. We got to make sure to ask him about the guy saying peach fuzz on the mic when we have him on. The look on his face was amazing when that happened. Amazing.
I'll just tell a story for reference for later, but he went to the MPL powerlifting competition and he killed it. He set all the state records and deadlifted more than I can deadlift, and he smoked it. It was awesome to watch. But I came up with a little nickname for him here a few months ago. I started calling him Peach Fuzz, and I went up to the judge
because he's trying to grow a beard, and he says it's a beard, but it's like those little like teenage kind of like.
It's peach fuzz.
Fuzzy hairs, yeah. It's definitely not coarse in nature. And, of course, he's like, it's a full beard.
Yeah. Well, I went up to the announcer at the powerlifting competition. I said, hey, you should call him Peach Fuzz. That's his nickname. and he did, and Eli's like, no, I hate that
He
name.
Was mortified. It was so great.
His eyes got big. Yeah, it was awesome.
It was beautiful.
It was. But instead of telling that story, we'll let Eli talk about that here one of these days. So we are going to talk about a little bit. We're going to talk some politics. Probably not the politics you're expecting, but so I went up to the Capitol here last week on Tuesday on behalf of the Kansas Cannabis Coalition, and we were up there. There was supposed to be an event. ACLU, the Coalition, Bleeding Kansas. There was a bunch of these advocate groups who were going to meet. We were going to all speak at the Capitol, and there was going to be 50 plus people here. Well, the weather, it was like freezing fog and crappy, and they ended up canceling the event and going virtual. Well, our group, we had already went up the night before, and we went to the hotel, and we decided, well, we're here, so we're going to go to the Capitol anyways. And our lobbyists that we had paid had already set up meetings for us and all this. So we're just going to talk a little bit through those experiences and just about kind of how that all transpired and how, like, moving forward, how things look for the medical cannabis outlook in Kansas for this year. And just, like, maybe if we could talk about this, and if you listen, we can communicate outside of the podcast, and maybe we can make a difference together. But we got there, and we had we met with 8 different politicians in their offices. There was 5 of us there, and so we kind of split up at times, but we met with Jason Probst, who we've had on the podcast, and he's a rep here from Hutch. We met with people from 2 or 3 different representatives from the Wichita area, a couple from the Kansas City area, and out of all of them, every single person was positive, and they all wanted a medical marijuana program in Kansas. Kind of the overriding theme about it was people in certain leadership positions that we've talked about on here in the past do not want it for certain reasons. They want it for reasons to where they can help their buddies out. And one thing that we heard was that there's this program out there that is tailored to the Wichita market, the Sedgwick County area. We had heard it called the Wichita Bill, the Sedgwick County Bill. And it's just absolutely crazy to me, the corruption through and through up there in the Capitol. And it's really opened my eyes, because in this red state that we live in, it is the red politicians that are the most corrupt. They're causing the most issues. But that being said, like, if you go to a blue state, and it's the opposite, it's the blue people, the Democrats are in charge, and they're the ones that are causing all the corruption and stuff. Well, as the coalition, we kind of put a game plan together, and we decided that we all need to. We're going to come together, and we're going to put a bill together, and this is going to be a bill that is not monopolistic. It's going to represent patients, and because if you don't have patients, you don't have a medical marijuana program, and it won't succeed if patients aren't going to be buying a product from you. And part of the thing, like, if the patients aren't well represented, the black market's just going to succeed and just grow exponential. Just like it is now. The black market in Kansas is just, it's growing like crazy because of the lack of regulation we have here. Whether that's the Delta 8, Delta 9 stuff, the hemp-derived gray area that we have, or whether that's weed coming over the border from Oklahoma, Colorado, Missouri, or stuff that's being grown right here in Rice and Reno County and being sold all over the place. It's everywhere and it's thriving, and nothing will happen with that unless we have a good bill. So that's one of our things is moving forward. We need to have a good bill, but we also need everybody to reach out to their politicians. If you support medical marijuana, reach out to the politician, the people that represent you, and tell them that you would like to talk about it, that your vote this year in the election, counts, and that you are voting based on a medical marijuana bill, and that is part of what you vote on. And because these politicians need to know that that is an important issue to you, because one of the excuses we get a lot is that our constituents don't want cannabis. They don't want this stuff. They don't want it. Well, over and over again, we've seen studies come out in the state where it's like anywhere from 60 to 80% of Kansans in certain areas want a medical bill, recreational bill. They want a bill. And you just look around us. There's 37 other states in the United States that have some sort of cannabis bill. And that shows to me that the people want this. And that those representatives are just in it for their best interests.
Well, I don't think that's anything that's new. I think that such things have occurred since the beginning of time.
No, but people got to be able to, there's no better time than now to step up and make a difference. Because, you've heard Andy say it, if you don't do it now, it's going to be too late.
Yeah.
And the way that these people are, even in Kansas, are going.
That wasn't me trying to downplay it.
No.
Just so you know.
I'm just saying, now is the time. If we do not do this now, it's going to be this same cycle, because this guy that's in leadership, he wants to be our governor, and it's going to go through the same shitty cycle when he's the governor for the next, 8-year term I'm pretty sure for governor in Kansas. I think it is. That's what he wants to do. And this guy is backed
he'd
by...
be willing to at least sign off on supporting Texas's border, maybe. Ours won't.
Yeah. The thing is, that's all election year politics bullshit. All of it is.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
For both sides.
I can't even imagine what the... excuse me, I've been sick the last several days. I can't even imagine what the climate must be like in the capital, Kansas's capital, in an election year compared to non-election years.
Oh, it's like a high school, middle school is the drama that goes on up there. And that was what a lot of the people we talked to said it's going to be like this year. And they're trying to get through session as fast as they can so they can get back on the campaign trail and start
working on the next rotation.
Yep. Because every single person in that Capitol building is up for election this year, except for Laura Kelly. And she's 2 years.
Yeah. Because that election just happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it was when Seth did it, so that would have been the last
2 years.
Yeah.
2 years ago.
Okay. But yeah, it's interesting because it's if I remember correctly, in order to get things for instance, Lincoln, just to give an example of the Emancipation Proclamation, when he was trying to get Congress to kind of make that a congressional or a constitutional amendment, to basically end slavery and do all of those things. It was basically like, okay, if this politician agrees to vote, we'll give, because they're not going to go up for election. So what we'll do is we'll give them a place in the like postmaster of like this place. It's basically that quid pro quo. So I don't think that's anything new. I think it's gotten more complex.
It's more, yeah. Our technology has definitely complicated that.
Yeah.
And like these guys, like the guys in power, are backed by big money, like the Cokes of the world. And they're owned by those corporations basically. Well, and like I would guess when this guy went when he went in as a politician, that it was not because of relationships like that. It was because he wanted to make a difference at the beginning. And then over time, like you're wore down, and eventually you get into that leadership spot, and then bam, there's $250,000 a year. It's like, okay, well now I'm stuck with this.
Well, but like the part that's interesting to me is, and seeing as how I'm running for political office, the maximum amount someone can give to your campaign is $500.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, you can have PACs and super PACs and things like that they're private entities.
60% of his money comes from out of state, from PACs and super PACs.
Yeah, so that's where the money actually comes from. So it's not like directly into his campaign, like for advertising, stuff like that. Like for instance, let's just say Jim Bob's the senator you're talking about. Jim Bob doesn't actually get $250,000 into his campaign because it's not lawful. Mm-hmm. Now, there are ways around that. So, for instance, like,
but if he's getting paid a salary by somebody, it's going to his personal deal.
Right.
Yeah, that's what it is.
So like, I just want to illustrate the point so people understand like how this is actually working, because I'm learning these things. But it's interesting because like, let's say you're running for office and I want to give you $500. Then my wife could give you $500. Then my company could give you $500, because the way that's structured is the company, for all intents and purposes, is a person under the IRS code. Like it's a thing.
It's
a person can have it. Yeah, it has its own tax ID. It can have its own assets. Everything. It's like a person. Like you could even take guns and on an NFA like suppressors and full auto guns, things like that, and register them to a business like. That's a living entity. Mm-hmm. So there are ways to kind of like quote unquote get around some of that, but it makes it really cumbersome. So that's where the PACs come in, because the PACs, so if you've got them on your side, now let's say, you want to donate to Jim Bob's campaign because Jim Bob will give you what you want. You could give like $10 million to the PAC if you want, like if you wanted to, because it's a private business, a private entity. And then in order to have that PAC on your side, you have to basically kind of do their bidding and do what they want. Mm-hmm. And then they leverage that $10 million in advertising, in lobbying, in, insert whatever they want. I mean, they're a public entity. Now, I won't comment on to what they can use the money for. I have no idea. Obviously advertising, things like that, lobbying, but I'm not sure that they could like give money to like your business or something like that. I'm not sure. Yeah. I'm sure there's something, somehow, some way, because that's the thing I'm finding about campaign
I'm
gonna
finance. Guess if you're part of a PAC, that there's tiers and groups within that, like you can make a salary out of that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, but that's also its own whole political game by itself. Not even counting like running for office, like knowing what your people are doing, or even sitting the chair itself at the Capitol. Like those PACs are all about just leveraging power.
Yep.
And so let's face it, there are PACs that are, Democrat controlled. There are PACs that are Republican controlled. They both are the same way. They both
have deep pockets.
Yes, they both have those same things.
They own politicians all over the country, and
and that's one of the many things that I'm kind of glad that I'm at like the local level. I filed my financial reports. They're for this last year. They're a public record. You can get online and get them, or get access to them, or at the very least make a Kansas Open Records Act request for them and see who my donors are. Over a certain dollar amount, like under a certain dollar amount, you can kind of just put those in as like unitemized.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like $50 or less as unitemized. But you can like see who like is doing that stuff. Like it's open public record. But it's just interesting. Like we live in a day and age where we're just flooded with information, right?
Yep.
It's easier for me to like swipe a video or click a link and watch a video or whatever, and then just maybe like believe what's in there, instead of like doing a little bit of the work myself and like going and getting that
Doing
information.
A little research.
And I think the point that Nate's trying to illustrate is something that we've said all along on this podcast, even before like politics even came into my life or even your life now. I mean, let's face it, you're in that spectrum now too.
Stuck my face in it on Tuesday, and we're there.
We're both on the spectrum now. Anyway,
I've always been on the spectrum. I know that.
Is like it's just easier to like consume that media than do that. And like, so what I was getting at, there we go. My brain is resetting. Was, you know, like all Nate's asking is, he's not asking you to like know what's going on at like the Texas border or know what's going on in Washington with a specific funding bill or like whatever. It's like, okay, so like you have some representatives in your area. Like you can make, most of the time you can go online and just do a simple search query on a website. Like maybe not Google, but like you Google a specific website that then will give you the information you're looking for. Especially when it comes to bills. I know that they post that stuff on the legislature website for you to consume. But
yeah, you can look at you can get on the Kansas State website and look every day exactly what their schedule is supposed to be and all that.
Yeah.
What bills being debated on the floor and everything.
Yeah, so like basically what he's saying is just be involved at your local level. And like we've said many times, if we have more people that just get involved at like just kind of your local level and your local politics, because at the end of the day, like as a candidate for sheriff, if the Kansas legislature says like we're abolishing, like this is an overarching thing that'll never happen because it would be political suicide and civil war, but like we're going to do outright gun seizure. Like we're making it a law. Like as sheriff, I'm going to be the person that literally says no. Yeah. And I'm going to stand with you. And so your local politics honestly are like your first line of defense and like where you should really be focusing. And that's not just like your county and city level, but your state level.
Yeah.
Because you only have like a couple in like Reno and Rice County that.
So the senators for like us, probably most of the people that listen to this podcast, Alicia Straub is the senator for like Great Bend, Sterling, Pratt, that area. Mark Steffen is like the Hutch area. And then Chase is like West Wichita, Mary Ware, Olesa Fascudo, Ty Masterson. Those are all, that's probably most of the people that listen to this podcast in central Kansas. Those are your representatives. And out of that group, I know like in the Wichita area ones, most of those people, Mary Ware, she's Democrat, she's central Wichita, she's for it, but the rest of them really aren't. They're all Republicans. And it's like the people on the west side of Wichita, your state representative does not believe that you guys want any sort of cannabis bill. And the same with like the Andover area. They don't believe that you want any kind of cannabis bill. So to me, that says that we got to reach out and we got to say, hey, we want this. My vote for you depends on this, you know, because it is an election year. So constituents, voters
have more pull now than they typically do.
We do. We've got more pull.
Got you. Well, you just have to get people like on that same page and get that information out. And I think that sometimes, again, in that sea of information,
it's hard.
How do you make sure that your information, especially when you're battling against the PACs that are putting out, you know, you're battling a $1 million machine.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to bet that the coalition doesn't have the same funding leverage.
Nope. Not quite.
You know, and that's not me being critical or like condescending.
No, it's an uphill battle for sure. But if you get the young people involved, numbers can outweigh those people with the money. Honestly, they can.
I will tell you, honestly, if it were me, I wouldn't focus as much on the numbers of the young people. That's just my 2 cents.
Well, we just need people,
I can show you the statistics from my Facebook.
We just need people to
of who's
reach
interested
out.
in this stuff.
we just need numbers to reach out to their politicians. When I say the young people need to get involved, young people don't vote.
Right.
That's what I mean. Young people need to get out and vote and get involved.
I think they're too busy tied up in that sea of information with Netflix, TikTok, etc.
The issue is,
Snapchat.
if that doesn't stop, there's not going to be any check and balance on the voting. You know, if people don't pull their head out of their devices, we're just going to continue to go down a worse and worse and worse path because nobody is voting. You know?
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like, those people need to be educated the most on it. Now, for our cause, I would agree with you. I think that, like, a lot of the people for the cannabis stuff, especially the older people, are the ones that need the most help in that area. And they're more respected, and their voices would really probably sway an older politician more than a 21-year-old kid yelling and screaming, you know.
Well, and
I'm not saying you got to yell and scream. I'm saying, like, write a nice email and send it to them, you know.
I'm thinking that I think that also you're going to have like an older population that's probably going to benefit from cannabis because their bodies aren't what they used to be. They're getting cancers and things like that too, so they're going to want access to that, and they're going to be the ones that are actually going out and voting and doing that. But Nate makes a valid point. Like, if you are going to like reach out, like if you send this like angry, like condescending, like flagrant, profane email, like it's just going to get like deep sixed. Like, they've got staffers and people that look at these things that like that email carries no weight.
And sometimes they get 400 emails a day.
At least.
On
probably.
Well, that's like on one subject.
Yeah.
One of the politicians was saying she was getting 400 emails a day on like one of the tax deals that's going on up there.
Yeah, because aren't they looking at like a flat
tax deal?
Yeah. We won't get into that. But yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things of like, we're not like saying that you have to be like an expert at everything. Like, when we had Jason on here, like, remember how I asked him, I'm like, when they did that whole, like, he was wanting to protect those like box turtles or whatever because they were being shipped to like Japan or whatever.
Yeah.
And like how it affected the ecosystem, and like, I'm like, how did you know that? You know, and he just had like, I have a guy, you know, like probably somebody from Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks that was like telling him. But
he's working on another bill, which probably comes directly from Hutch here from Sandhills, and it's
is it the beer freedom one?
Kind of, but it's a bill. You know how distributors in Kansas, like, they have a lot of power for alcohol, because like Sandhills cannot sell a keg of beer directly to like Carl's Bar, which is 3 blocks away. They have to sell said keg of beer to a distributor, City Beverage, and then City Beverage marks it up and sells it to Carl's.
Interesting.
So he's trying to make it to where like microbreweries and that kind of stuff can sell directly to those. They can sell to consumers and private people kegs, but they cannot sell
to another business directly.
Actually, I don't even know if that's true. I think when we got the kegs for my sisters, they came from City Beverage. We ordered them through Sandhills, but City Beverage is the one we got the cakes from.
Huh. Interesting.
So they're working on limiting the power of the distributors because, like, what's the point of that? Like, literally. It makes it more complicated than them to just take a keg.
As usual, follow the money.
Yes.
Follow the money, yeah. Well, and also Kansas's, like, alcohol laws are kind of archaic on a lot of things. I mean...
Our cannabis laws are going to be the same way because of the nature of the beast that we live in is a red state. It's the last frontier for conservatives is what I've seen in a lot. Which, you know, like, I believe in the conservative values. I'm Christian, you know. Like, I would probably lean more right than left. If you ask my parents, like...
If you ask your parents, you are, like, way on the right side.
Yeah. Yeah. But, like, compared to probably like you and some other people in Sterling, like, I'm probably more way down the middle.
Yeah. I would definitely say you're in the middle.
Yeah.
Like, if I had to, like...
I don't like to say I'm Democrat or Republican. I don't like calling myself down party lines because of... I just don't like the connotation that comes with a lot of those parties now. And all it is, like, during election year is, like, what can you do to help benefit me to get reelected? Is exactly the conversations going on up at the Capitol.
Yeah.
You know? And so this shitty pilot program bill that they've been talking about is going to get pushed out and it's going to get onto the floor. It's going to happen. I heard that from a couple different people. And the problem is for someone like Jason Probst, who's a Democrat. So that bill is shit. It is a monopoly, and it benefits like one county in Kansas. And Jason's like, that ties my hands.
How so?
It's an election year, and
if I don't
then
pass it,
he is on record voting against the cannabis bill as a Democrat.
He can abstain too.
You know, but even then, you know, it still looks bad from his party and from his
political standpoint.
Yes, it's just playing that.
So
political game.
how does it? I mean, while we're here and have the platform, how does it benefit? Like, when you say it just benefits that one county, how so?
It was written by a business down there, proposed through their lobbyists, and like it is basically, it's the one I've talked about it a little bit, but there's only 20,000 medical patients in the whole state. There is 7 dispensaries, 4 growers, 2 distributors. 2 labs and 2 processors. That's it. It's the only people that are getting licenses. And like, it's just written into the bill. Like some of it's like, it's got to be zoned industrial where you're growing at. It's like, how much of Kansas is zoned industrial?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, most of it's like legit just agricultural.
You have to have a 2-year standing relationship with the KDA, with the hemp program. So there's not a lot. I mean, that's even less. There's maybe 40 people, 40 licenses in the state now. And I would say of those 40, probably 2/3 of those are for industrial hemp. So that list is short of the people that have a good standing deal with the KDA. And so to me, like, there's probably people in Kansas City and there's people in Wichita that, for the most part, have meet those requirements. The thing with Kansas City is nobody up there is going to want to go to these expensive ass dispensaries in Kansas when they can drive 10 minutes across the border and go to Missouri.
Yeah.
So it doesn't benefit them.
Well, and that's just the thing is like, so they say, so here's what Kansas would probably do. Well, the package has to say like grown in Kansas. Okay. Prove that was grown in Kansas, right? Like, I could drive across the border, drive Missouri, throw it in a Kansas package, and like, now, oh, cool, it's grown in Kansas.
Yeah,
like I can. So like, it's just it's not a good solution to just say it's grown in Kansas.
No, it is, and this bill is going to go out there, and that's part of our plan. Is there's another bill that we helped with a couple years ago that we're gonna.
Are you allowed to kind of like talk about that on here or?
About the other bill?
Yeah, like what your guys' solution to those problems are?
Well, we want to put another bill out there and have it introduced. That way there's 2 bills.
So
in the
at
state.
Least so it doesn't
so
tie,
there's a good option and then there's
doesn't tie like people like Jason's hands.
Yeah, so
where
you can be like,
he can
why aren't we
something.
voting on this other bill that's a good bill?
Yeah.
You know? And it's like it's a patient-focused bill.
But the problem is if it dies in committees, and the other one makes it to the floor and he has to vote, his hands are still tied.
Yep.
That's the problem.
Yep.
For him, politically.
It is.
But, I mean...
It's all political games, man. It sucks. It's demoralizing. And sometimes I just want to, like, throw my hands in the air and resign. And then I just sit back and I look and I'm like, okay, like that's just not, like, it's not in me to do that because I'm not going to quit until the job's done on this deal because it's too important. It's going to help too many people to let a shit bill like that go through. So if that bill does get introduced, we're going to do everything we can to push against it.
So how come there's the push towards whole plant medical cannabis versus CBD that is medicine and is already legal?
There's more money in it.
Well, and also, you know, there are different cannabinoids in the plant, right? Like you have all kinds of different cannabinoids. You have the major cannabinoids, which are like Delta 9 THC is the major big.
I mean, that's the major one. That's the difference.
But when you get whole plant, you're getting all the cannabinoids. Yeah. Now we've discussed addiction, CB1, CB2 receptors, etc. But if you can get whole plant and get all the minor cannabinoids, typically you're getting the most.
Yeah, and we've even seen some bills where it's just in a pill form, in isolate. That's all you get. And there's like a list of like 5 ailments. No, there's more than that, but it was like 15.
It was just really
short list. And it's like, just doesn't help the people that need to be helped. And THC in pure form does not help anybody. That is strictly to get you high.
Yeah.
You know, all your medicinal benefits are in those other cannabinoids.
Right. Yeah.
And I mean, that's our push. Whatever's going to help the most people.
So, I mean, are you guys realizing that you're going to have some like things that you might have to give up to get the bill through to at least get something started?
Yeah. Because there's going to be things we're going to have to change in this bill to, like, one thing we would really like to have, it would be awesome, is to have, like, home grows, like other states, where I can be a caretaker for someone and grow 3 to 6 plants. But that's never going to pass in Kansas.
Yeah, you're never going to get that through first try.
No. And so it's like, okay, we'll put that on the back burner, and then we'll try to amend it, try to push and amend that later. But, like, sacrificing things like that, to, like, appease your far-right people that think that there's not a medical program that we need in Kansas. You know, one thing, I just, like a limited and capped program like they're talking, it's just not something that we can get behind. I won't be able to sleep at night knowing that I supported something like that. I can't do it. Can't do it. It's the amount of frustration that has come out of, and what's going to end up happening is they're going to push this bill at the 11th hour, at the dead of night, so that nobody has time to scramble on it.
Huh.
That would be my guess. I mean, why would they not push it at the very end, where we don't have time to rally the troops against it?
Well, I'm interested in seeing what the updates are and stuff from here. Do you have any plans on going back up to the Capitol anytime?
Yeah, when there's testimony being done on these bills, we'll be up there.
Okay.
And we'll be up there in force. We want as many of our friends to go with us as we can.
Speaking of that, just one thing I want to wrap up because we're past time here is I wanted to just throw like a really quick shout out. One of the bills that's getting ready to go across is a gun bill that's basically like protecting firearms, accessories, ammunition, components, all that other kind of stuff, because they've seen other states. They realize, okay, the Supreme Court has said that it's an individual right. People can have guns, but here's what we'll do is we'll limit their ammo, we'll limit their access to parts and all that other kind of stuff. And so Kansas is wanting to take like a proactive step and just say, like letting people and saying protecting that.
Yeah.
But instead of doing a bill, they're actually putting it out to a vote for a constitutional amendment. So speaking of that, I watched a testimony that was on the Kansas State Rifle Association of Representative Rebecca Schmoy. And if you listen to this, ma'am, and I butchered your name, I apologize. I'm basing it on how they pronounced your name in the video. But she's out of Ottawa, Kansas, and she basically just got on there and like, I just had to really respect. She said, this isn't about like, she said, first of all, everybody says this will be a disaster. Because like they had like Moms Demand Action, which is like anti-gun people sitting in the background, like with their shirts on. And they're saying it's going to be this like disaster. And they're like, you mean the disaster like concealed carry was? Constitutional carry was? You know, where were the disasters in that? I'd appreciate you naming one, because there hasn't been.
Mm-hmm.
And she's basically saying, like, we just need to show that we can trust our constituents and that we can allow them to make their own decisions, and we step out of their way and let them vote on it. And I was just like, wow, like that is the kind of politics we need in this world.
Yeah, but they won't
take notes.
They won't let cannabis go to a vote like that because they don't hold the cards. They don't have the power.
Right.
Because there's way too much money. But the thing is, with guns, they just know something like that's going to pass in Kansas.
Well, and not only that, but the money around the gun scene is already wrapped up in, 7 to 10 different gun companies, all owned by the same people. So I mean,
which kind of surprised me.
That's already a moot point.
They let the abortion deal go to an amendment too, like that, to the Constitution.
I mean, but look at it. You got to give respect. It was like, what do you guys want?
Yeah, it just blows my mind. Jason's actually going to introduce a constitutional amendment for cannabis.
Oh, okay.
This year.
I bet you that dies in committee.
Yeah, it will.
100%.
It will. And that's what he said. He's like, I tried to do it last year too, and it it dies in committee because it takes the power away from the people with the power.
Yeah, that's never going to happen because then they don't get the chance to like basically control everything about it. As far as like, so for instance, the state of Kansas can, in the sense of like administrative regulations on some things or Kansas statutes on some things, but like it takes the power away from those people that stand to make multi-millions off of it and are positioning themselves with their money and their dollar, their dollar and their power to like profit off of this specific bill that just basically benefits them and backs. You know, it's like some of those bills that you guys have talked about in the past, where there had to be like all these cameras with no blind spots and like biometric access, and
those are still in there.
Yeah, and like all of that kind of stuff that, like, let's face it, High Point Farms can't afford probably all of those cameras, let alone the biometrics and, you know, the potential for QR tag tracking plants from plant to customer, you know. That stuff's expensive, and there's only certain people that can afford that.
I even heard some rumors of not even having dispensaries and just doing a delivery only system. And
a delivery from where?
Straight from the
growers, like Uber Eats, like
Amazon delivery services.
Whatever.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
it's going to be an interesting session. You'll be seeing plenty of posts from me on Facebook and Instagram, and just like you have already. So,
speaking of that, go ahead and tell those to people that are listening. Your socials?
Oh,
Jiminy Christmas, man! Do you need me to draw you a freaking picture?
Most of the people listening already know what my social medias are, don't they?
What happens if there's somebody that doesn't?
Okay, go follow at the
Kansas You are a really terrible
Coalition.
Vice President of a Kansas Coalition. Coalition, all right?
Yeah. I thought you meant my personal stuff.
I meant that too.
Okay. Well,
all of it.
We're not going to cut this out. We're just going to leave it. You guys can hear me and Nick bicker at each other like a married couple.
I wasn't going to cut it out.
Okay. But really, like, we would love to have your support at the coalition, and you can find us on Facebook at the Kansas Cannabis Coalition. Instagram, it's the same. I think there's a TikTok. I don't know if anything gets pushed out there. Maybe we need to get Caden on that. He's our new membership chair. He wants to go viral on TikTok. Maybe he can do it there. But then you could follow me on Facebook, Nate Hyatt, and at Nate Hyatt 68 on Instagram, and reach out and let's have a conversation and let's try to make a difference together.
Yeah, so thank you for taking the time to listen to us. We're sorry things kind of haven't been lining up. There's just a lot that's been going on just between running businesses and campaigns and Nate being parts of the Cannabis Coalition during the legislature being in session. We're still here. We're apologizing for just the inconsistencies in our schedule, but we'll continue to work on that and just continue bringing you content. Be sure to share, give us a like, rating, review. We're renting out the podcast studio if you wanted to examine using that to maybe create your own podcast, record some music, maybe do some radio spots that you want to put out there, maybe save some money. Anything like that we could potentially help you with, just reach out to us. You can see our contact page at www.thehigherpoints.com. Check us out on Facebook, The Higher Points Podcast, at The Higher Points on Instagram. And we are back on YouTube for the time being. It's The Higher Points Podcast on there. We'll see how that goes. So far, they haven't
talking about weed and cannabis too much, and we'll be right back off.
Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. But just again, we'll catch up with you guys next week. Thanks for taking the time to listen to us. See you later.